A young man by the name of David Williams was diagnosed with a tumor on his spine, and the doctor told him he only had 3 years left to live, and was given the opportunity of assisted suicide. He was soon put into hospice care, and his pain started to ease. And within that same year, his wife passed away with cancer. So he could have left his children behind, and if he went through with this process. So the problem with euthanasia and assisted suicide is whether or not this is an ethical thing to do. So David ended up living longer than the doctor said he would. So I believe that this procedure is an ethical thing to do for the doctors and the person requesting it. Many people do not like the idea of being against euthanasia. So today I'm going to express the arguments for pro-euthanasia, which are ethical values, the alternatives are not good enough, and how it improves the quality of life, and why I believe this needs to change. So first, let's take a look at the ethical values of the assisted suicide laws. So the first counter-argument would be the Hippocratic Oath is taken too literal. This oath, from the medical dictionary, defines it as an oath taken by physicians usually receiving the doctoral degree whereby they promise to observe ethical principles in the practice of medicine. This oath says, do not harm others. So people look at this ancient Greek method and say that these doctors and physicians are hurting the terminally ill more by letting them live longer in this pain. So in the Hippocratic Oath article in the Journal of Health Science, it states that this oath has become too vague and that it is not specific enough with explaining the harm of others. So while looking at others' views on the argument on euthanasiaprocom.org, the Hippocratic Oath was an ancient Greek method, and they did not have the appropriate drugs, nor did they have the understanding of the person's situation. So I believe that the doctor is still upholding their ethical values in this situation. The do not harm is meant for the doctors to do the best they can to save a patient's life. If one were to read further down in the oath, it states, I will not give a lethal drug to anyone requesting it, nor will I recommend the use of such. So Leon Cass, who is an MD and a PhD, who is a former chair of President's Council of Bioethics, states, the deepest ethical principle restraining physicians' power is not the autonomy or freedom of the patient, neither it is his own compassion or good intention. Rather, it is the dignity and mysterious power of life itself, and therefore also what the oath calls the purity and holiness of life, an art to which he has sworn devotion. So this oath just expresses the true value of life and a reminder of the physician's role within helping someone. So a Gallup poll last year found that 69% of Americans favored allowing doctors to end a patient's life by some painless means, though the figure dropped 58% when people were asked if they supported allowing doctors to help incurable patients commit suicide. So now that I've talked about the importance of Hippocratic Oath and the ethical values, let's look at the next approach of the alternatives to assisted suicide. So the next argument presented is that people should not be forced to stay alive through this pain. So many people view palliative care and hospice care as a negative thing for the terminally ill patients, or it can be considered cruel or inhumane for the patients to continue to live in this pain. The problem that occurs with these patients and families is that they choose assisted suicide because they are not fully educated on what this hospice and palliative care is. So these families need to understand their options with the benefits of healthcare. So when there becomes an option of killing themselves, the patients first go to that because they think it's the easiest way to go. If we look back at David, the father who decided to go through hospice care instead of assisted suicide, he began to express how thankful he was because of this decision. This becomes the point that David is worried that the law were to be passed, that people would use this in the wrong way. So David began to support the cause of care not killing, which started in the United Kingdom and can be more known in the United States. So the hospice and palliative care becomes a healthier option for the mindset of the patients and the families. And from the Modern Healthcare magazine, in the article, Assisted Suicide Debate Focuses attention on palliative and hospice care, it states, the number of hospice providers grew from 2,300 to 5,800 between 1994 and 2013, according to the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization. So part of this is from understanding and having the knowledge of this health care for these patients to receive from the physicians. And even though the price of the palliative care can be a little bit more pricey, the benefit of this care is better than knowing that the doctor helped kill someone. So now that I've talked about these healthcare options and how they're more beneficial, let's take a look at how this can improve someone's life. So the last argument is assisted suicide improves the quality of life for the families and those who choose this procedure. Most people have the fear of death or how they're going to die. Being pro-euthanasia gives the people less anxiety about when or how they're going to die. With this argument, those who are for assisted suicide agree upon the fact that these people will be able to live their life to the fullest with the amount of time that they chose to die. Although after talking about the importance of the healthcare, it can also help the patients enjoy their lives just as much. This healthcare can actually improve a person's quality of life and is much more beneficial than just them ending it. From the getpalliativecare.org website, it says, palliative care is provided by a specially trained team of doctors, nurses, and other specialists who work together with the patient's other's doctor to provide an extra layer of support. So I believe that the sanctity and dignity of a person's life and that the person is able to live. I also believe that our life is a gift and that we should live our lives to the fullest. So why are we to choose when to die? When on the religious side of things, that God is in control of that. So let's think back to David's children and how they would be without a dad, or David would have missed out on those opportunities if he chose to die whenever he ended up living longer. So anti-euthanasia improves the sanctity and quality of life. Today, I presented counter-arguments to the discussion of assisted suicide and why I believe this procedure is unethical. So first, I took a look at the Hippocratic Oath, and I believe that it still has an importance on the physicians and the doctors today, and it should be taken seriously. Next, healthcare does not force the patients to stay alive, but they're treated with love and care during the time. And then lastly, God is in control of our lives, and who are we to say that we can choose when to die? So overall, let's remember David and his family whenever he lived longer than expected and was able to support his family. And so let's live our life.